Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you're joining me from. I hope you're having a great Wednesday. Um, I also hope you're able to hear me because at this point, I don't know if I'm on mute or not. So I'm just going to check it for myself as I wait for some of you to join as well. How are you all doing? How's everything? How has the last 1 week been? Um, what's been happening at your end? I'm just checking. I don't know if anyone is here. Then if you're able to hear me, let me know. I'm just checking. I don't know. Oh yeah, anyone is here. I seem to be audible, I guess. Um, I was actually trying to see if I could do the streaming today from directly from YouTube. Uh, but there were too many technical glitches. I couldn't figure it out. So we continue to do it on StreamYard. If you're here, if you're listening in, do leave a hi. Let me know where you're listening in from. If you're listening to me for the first time, let me introduce myself. I'm Saujanya Vijayanagar. I'm from Bangalore, India. I am a canine behavior consultant and I have been certified from BARCS. I run my own practice called Dog Promise, and I do talk a lot about gentle parenting, building our relationship with our dogs. I talk about my experiences and my observations with free living dogs that I get the privilege to live alongside. So yeah, you listen to me talk about all of these things and more on my lives. Today is 27th March. It's a Wednesday, and I have a few things lined up for us to have a chat about today. If you have any questions, obviously, again, that will take priority over the topics that I might want to talk about. So if you have any questions, drop them in and we will have a chat about it. If you don't have any questions, then I do have a few topics that I thought I'll discuss. One was um, what really is our responsibility as dog parents. This one is kind of inspired by something that happened recently. Um, and I think I felt like that's an important conversation of how much we are prepared when we get home a dog. Does our life change? Should our life change? Should our life remain the same and our dogs need to get molded and adjusted into the home that they enter into? So I felt like that's an important conversation. And how to have this conversation without judgment, I think that's also a little hard. If you ask me, if I had to talk about this maybe a few years back, there would be a lot of judgment around this conversation, but I think I have better perspective on this now, and maybe that's something I would want to put in here. And I did mention last week that this might be slightly controversial. So let's look at it a little more with an open mind, with different perspectives. There's nothing right or wrong here. So that was one topic that I wanted to talk about. The other is I did give a presentation yesterday. About on the topic of the power of agency, and I found so many good videos that display agency, and I felt like, how about sharing those videos and all of us having a conversation and discussion about what we see in those videos. I hope you're up for that. um, and finally, I did want to talk about I was just sharing a few, like I was having like a nostalgic down the memory lane on my Instagram recently, where I was going through my old posts, right, like really old posts, and I came across my posts around collars and harnesses, and good equipment, bad equipment, and stuff like that. But I think I want to go beyond conversations on harness versus collars, which is better. I did have a pulling dog. Sammy would pull on walks. He would pull extensively. So I want to talk about that a little bit and how we worked around it. There is, interestingly, a video of Sammy interacting with a dog, a free living dog, um, in my video collection for the conversations around agency. So I think I would use that video for both topics. So that's what I want to talk about today. But as I said, if you have any other questions, that will take priority over the topics, because we keep coming back here and we keep having conversations. So there is no, there's no set agenda for each of the sessions. Joy Luna. I'm Joy from Idaho, USA. I have listened to a lot of your recordings, but this is the first time I'm able to join the live. I'm looking forward to it. I'm so glad you could make it. I know, I mean, you have been very proactive in sharing, your thoughts and ideas of what you take away from the recording. So I'm so glad you could make it for the live so that we can have these discussions together. Uh, okay, so while um, I just had like a little bit of technical issue, as we usually tend to do in these situations, but I wanted to kind of get my videos up. I was trying to put in my entire presentation, but seems like my presentation is too heavy a file. So I was trying to kind of download all my videos. So you'll see this thing happening. I hope it's not an issue. Just give me like 2 minutes. I'll get this up and then we'll get started. Um, did I mention to you all that we are moving homes? So that's an update that I had from my end, which also meant that I'm going through a lot of emotions of moving away from our three, absolutely gorgeous living dogs. I'm having like lots of emotions about leaving behind Laddu, Lady, and Bala. I also feel like um, I'm going to lose out on all the rich interactions I was seeing them have. I'm going to lose out on the extent of observations I was able to make. The fact that they let me into their lives and taught me. I think they all taught me so much in the last 6 months that I've had a privilege of interacting with them. So I'm kind of feeling quite bad about this move. So lots of emotions happening in the background, and it's not feeling nice. But that's an update. So I'm not so sure whether I will be able to do my live next week and the week after that. I mean, of course, one of the 2 weeks I will definitely do, but which one of the two, I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, that's another update as well. Okay, so I think let's pick up the first topic on dog parenting and our responsibilities as dog parents. Uh, I'm sure anyone who's listening to this does agree that dog parenting comes with responsibilities. I don't think any of us have any uh, disagreements on this matter. I don't think any of us have anything to debate and feel otherwise. So moving forward from there, that dog having a dog and being a dog parent, dog caregiver is a responsibility. I want to ask you, the ones who are listening in, who might listen in later, uh, to share your thoughts of, do you think when a dog comes home, your life should change? Does it change? How much would it change? And when you bring home a dog, or rather when you brought home a dog for the first time, or whichever dog you brought home, were you prepared for the kind of changes it brought in your life? I thought I'll maybe start off with just asking you that question, um, of how your experience has been. I'll share my experience as well. We brought Sammy home when I had just turned 18 or 19. So I was quite young. In India, of course, we live with our parents even after we turn 18. So I was living with my parents. So it was my parents, my sister, and me. and my sister was is younger to me. So I think when we brought home Sammy, uh, I don't know if I was fully prepared for what it entails to be a dog parent, what it entails to be a dog caregiver. I don't think parent would have been the right word back then for me, because I was too young to be able to even understand, uh, what the responsibility was. And there was also a small short duration where I moved away from the country. There were periods when I have moved out of the house. I lived independently without my dogs with me. So there have been periods where my own life journey took a course where I didn't take my dogs along with me. But I think since they were our family dogs, they were not my dogs. They were under the care of my parents, my sister, um, and now, of course, they are under my care. So I don't think I was fully ready for how much it would change, and I don't think my life changed a lot when Sammy came in, or even when Zoe came in. I don't think it changed quite a bit till um, I decided to be a lot more of an involved caregiver. Um, okay. The first, before I continue, I think there's a comment and I would like to take this. The first time I brought home my own puppy is 20 years ago. And even though I grew up in a household with dogs, having my own dog while living alone and abroad was a totally different thing. Exactly. And I think that is the contrast that I was trying to bring in, that when got my first dog, it was almost like a family dog, not my dog under my care specifically. So I didn't feel the extent to which my life would change. um, and there were two reasons for it. I was too young. It was just not just my responsibility, it was collectively the entire family responsibility. So between the four of us and the house help that we have access to here, but I think we kind of managed without having our life change so much. If you ask me today, if I would move countries, if I would move homes as easily as I did 10 years ago, I don't think I will. There would be a lot of thought, a lot of contemplation, a lot of understanding of how that move would affect my dogs before I even take that step. And I think that is a big change. And I think that has probably to do with hi Serena, hi. Yeah, I could recognize, but I was like, I don't know. But yeah, thank you for that. Sorry, I didn't take your name. um and I think this is Nuno. uh Correct me if I'm wrong. Hello, for sure we should be prepared, learning before dogs arrive, but only now I know this exactly. uh the way I would go about um yeah, the way I would go about getting a dog today versus how I went about the last couple of times. I've had two dogs till now, Sammy and Zoe, are so drastically different. And I think that is probably another reason why my perspective or my judgments around people who get home a dog without fully understanding the kind of responsibility that is, uh, I think it has changed over a period of time. Not saying that it is the right thing to do. I'm not saying that you should get a dog home without knowing the responsibility that is. But I think it's such a reality that happens. People just tend to get dogs home without knowing what goes into having a dog at home. And for me, I think it was very easy for a very long time, because we were living as a family and all of us were sharing responsibilities. So not if one person was not available, there was always another person to pick up the slack, and take care of the dogs. I think my life, like I think it changed a lot after I started being a more involved dog parent, dog caregiver, which meant that um, when I started this journey. First as a dog parent and then as a dog professional, the more I got into this journey is when I realized and learned that my life was never going to be the same again. And a lot of what we had around our homes, our routines, our lifestyle, uh, even just what we chose to do or not to do very much dependent or influenced by our dogs. And I think it's no different when you have human kids, right? I think no matter what your expectations are of having a child, your life is going to change when you have a child. uh, it doesn't matter how much it changes, it doesn't matter to what extent it changes, it doesn't matter whether you expected it or not, but in all honesty it does change. And I think when you bring home a dog also, no matter what our expectations might be, uh, even if the dog is exactly what you were hoping for, what you were expecting, your life does change in some ways. And I think we should kind of be ready for those changes. And unfortunately what happens is, and I think this is what happened with me the first both the times that I got the dogs home, was that the expectation was a dog would come in and settle into the life and the world that we have, not that it is going to be a coexisting space where both of us kind of mold into a new life together. um, and I feel like it's all thanks to this overwhelming amount of information around training. So the assumption, and I think this is what uh, I went into dog parenting or dog caregiving or getting home a dog with the idea that, oh yeah, I mean, we'll get home a dog and then training is anyway there, so we can figure out from there. And training essentially for large part of it is how to get the dogs to live the way we want them to live, behave the way we want them to behave, and behave in a way that is culturally and socially appropriate. um, while there's very minimal in emphasis and minimal conversation around what is the right thing for the dog, and what does the dog need. I went 6 years of having Sammy with no professional ever telling me that sniffing is important and necessary and a basic need for a dog. And that tells us a lot, that there's such limited conversation around what our dogs need, what are natural dog behaviors, normal dog behaviors, um, versus I have heard about all kinds of training otherwise, the reward training, the punishment trainings. I had heard a lot about that, but nothing about enrichment, nothing about sniffing, nothing about rest, nothing about functional movement for that matter. And I think because we have access to so much of information around behavior training, I think a lot of people go into dog parenting with an assumption that, oh, I get the dog home and training takes care of all of it, so we don't really need to worry about a lot of these concerns. I don't know, I mean, do you kind of see where I'm coming from and what probably is my perspective of this. The reason why this is coming up for me is that I recently got a call from a dog caregiver uh, who was struggling to care for her recently adopted dog, and even very minimal tasks of caregiving was putting her into an overwhelming space, and would leave her overwhelmed and burnt out. And before I get into my thoughts about it, now I'll ask you this question. Here is a human who is having very valid over exertion from having a dog, having the responsibilities of caring for a dog. But here is also a dog who is struggling, unable to communicate and connect with their human, whose needs are not being met. And who is wrong in the situation? Is there someone who's right or wrong in the situation? And what's the best thing to do here in this kind of a situation where the human is overwhelmed and overstretched, to a point of even minimal connection activities with the dog is leaving them burnt out? What do you do? In the meantime, there's a comment: training appears as a need to human control dogs. Information about needs and respect didn't exist. Exactly. I don't think I heard conversations like this at all. um 12, 13 years ago. 12, 13 years was ago is when we brought Sammy home. um and I don't think I heard these conversations happen back then. I don't think these conversations happened even when I got Zoe home. It was only about, the more I kind of moved into the circles where I got to know about Sindoor and the work she does, and now as a professional where I have been in circles with other dog professionals who do talk about the same things, I think we have evolved a little bit from where we were back then. But even today, there is so much information about training that I think uh, dog parents go into um, dog parents go into the adopting of a dog or getting home a dog with the assumption or with the knowledge that no matter what problems the dog comes with, training will solve it, and the dog will get used to the house. So you train the dog, and whatever problems that comes with the dog, you kind of take care of it. Serena says it's a tough question. I'm not sure there's a right or wrong answer. It really depends on each case, I think. Exactly. Now, when he brought home Zoe, was when we had like a major, I think, existential crisis, I guess. I was like, did I do the right thing by getting home this dog? Sammy was extremely agitated with her presence. Zoe was completely all over the place. We couldn't handle her, we couldn't manage her. We didn't know what was going on. And there was a brief moment where I was not sure whether I did the right thing by bringing home this dog and whether I was equipped to even handle this dog, whether I made that right decision. And I think having these emotions, these thoughts, is quite human. And I think we should make spaces for people to be able to express this without judgment, because I feel like there are strong opinions and strong emotions and feelings about people um, just sharing their experience. Again, not to say that we should encourage everybody to give up their dog, or things like that, but it's just about how we are feeling in the moment. And I think there is no, as you rightly said, there is no right or wrong answer. And in my case, I think thanks to the support system I had, and thanks to the right kind of help that I could access, um, it became easy for me to deal with the situations in a manner where I didn't feel overwhelmed. I didn't feel like I couldn't do this. Yes, feelings of overwhelm still exist on and off, where there are days. Just about 3 or 4 days back, I was taking care of Zoe by myself. There was nobody else to help me around with her. And suddenly she felt very restless. It was she And that was a day when I was quite stressed, I was quite tired. I hadn't slept the night before, I had a very long day, and in the night time she started getting quite restless. um, and I couldn't help her. I couldn't figure out what she needed. There were crackers outside, but oftentimes with crackers she tends to go out, wants to see what's happening, and once she knows where the sound is coming from, she tends to relax after it. But that was not happening. She was not relaxing. She did go and then see where the sounds are coming from. But to add to this chaos, there was also a fact that there was a new street dog on our street, and our three street dogs had gotten a little riled up because of that dog, and they were, barking, and that was, troubling Zoe quite a bit. And with all of this chaos, I was overwhelmed, and I was stretched to a point of I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help in this situation. So these kinds of overwhelming phases, days, moments is very, very much there. No matter how much we are able to connect with our dog, no matter how much we're able to figure out things with our dog, but I think with the right kind of support for ourselves and for our dog, it's easier to manage these situations over a period of time. Unfortunately, with this person, I had to very politely and I, and to be transparent, because they were reaching out to me for help with their dog. And what I was hearing was that even feeding the dog, even sitting next to the dog and being with the dog, was overwhelming them to a point of breakdown. um, in that case, is it the right thing for them to be able, are they in a position to be responsible for another individual when they're not able to care for themselves? And do they have the right kind of support system that when they're not able to care for this dog, uh, is there anyone who can pick up after them and take care of them as well as the dog? So I was a little conflicted, but I did tell them that if you are up for it, if you are committed in this journey, if you want to get help, uh, and figure this out for yourself, I'm here all through. But it also is important that you find ways to care for yourself as well. And I think that is something I learned for myself too. There were times when I was struggling with mental health and I couldn't show up for my dog fully. There were times where I felt like I can't do this. There were times where I felt like I'm not doing right by my dogs because I'm not able to meet their needs. Good thing was I had my support system. I had people who would pick up the slack when I couldn't. This happened even when Sammy passed away, when I was doing the bare minimum of waking up, eating, and sleeping. This is all I was doing for a few weeks after Sammy passed away. And I was lucky that I had my husband who would pick up the slack and care for Zoe when needed. So having a support system is so underrated. I mean, I think it should be more normalized, to have people who can help you when you are stressed to your limits. But I think what also helped me was when I was trying to seek help for myself. And for me, that help looked like therapy for myself, understand my coping mechanisms, understand my triggers. And today, I think because I could access that help for myself, I can also probably deal with situations like what happened 2 3 days ago in a much better manner than I would probably 3 4 years back. Um, and I know this is a privilege. The person that I was talking to was a very young person as well. I would say that she was probably in the same space that I was, about 8 9 years back when we got Zoe, and 7 8 years back when we got Zoe. And I think being mentally not in the right space, being so burnt out because of work and other, issues, I had health concerns. I had my mental health was moving towards my physical health being affected as well. So I could completely see myself in that person, and I could feel like I know that they they're struggling, they're definitely struggling, and they need someone to help them and care for them as well as the dog while they figure out what works for them, and I can be there for them to support them for their situations with the dog. And I felt like this is such a difficult conversation to have, because what happened, and I got to know this later, what happened was the person took the decision to um, put up their dog up for adoption. And I was anticipating that after my conversation with them, because I felt like they were just not ready for taking up the responsibility. And I was not sure whether it was the right thing for me to do. Like, did I do the right thing by giving them the right expectations, or am I responsible for the dog having changed homes? I also got to know that the dog then went to another home, a home with older people with more experience and with better support system than what the previous person had. So did it all work out for the dog? uh, was my transparency needed if I talk about the dog's welfare? Because at the end of it, if I am in sessions with them, I would prioritize the dog's needs, because and the dog's needs can only be met if the person was able to help themselves as well. Because if basic needs, meeting dogs basic needs were also so exhausting, then they are struggling, they are having a very very hard time. And I don't know if I can go into sessions and then talk to them about, your dog needs, that they're having connection needs and you need to meet connection needs. How can I have this conversation when just feeding the dog is probably overwhelming them? So I think it left me a little conflicted of whether it's important to be transparent and be honest and set the right expectations while supporting them through the process, or put the dog's needs in this front, right, and center of what we do. And um, you know be honest, or I think should have just sugarcoated it. And I don't know. I don't think, I mean, sugarcoating it is not my style. Um, but when I heard that the dog was put up for adoption again, I did feel a little bad, because I felt like I was responsible for it. Because I couldn't tell that person that no, it doesn't take a lot to be a dog parent, so you don't have to worry about it. I felt like that would be setting up the caregiver and the dog up for such failure, and even myself, because that would be such wrong expectations to be setting as dog parents. So I think it was important for me to kind of have this conversation out loud as well. I think this is also for me to process, but also I think these are conversations that we don't get to have often, because they get so controversial. Uh, I know that a lot of people in our circles have blamed our methods, and said that, oh, you know, uh, we tell them to put the dogs up for adoption. And then I had this case and I didn't know whether this is what is happening. um, but I also didn't want to set wrong expectations for the caregiver, because the caregiver needs to be able to be there for the dog, or someone else has to pick up the slack for them while they help themselves. If both are not there, the dog is going to struggle. The dog is going to struggle long term, and they'll keep seeing the issues creep up. And this is not a conversation about behavior modification on the surface. So if we are trying to talk about meeting the dog's needs and understanding their emotional experiences of different situations, then I think this is an important conversation. I think Serena is sharing a story, and I really would want to, talk about that as well. I'm a bit older than you, and I can definitely say, at least for myself, that raising a puppy now at the age of 50 compared to when I was 30 is like day and night. Knowing yourself and your needs is so essential. Absolutely. I think um, I remember this, and I think I've spoken about this even on the stream here. That Zoe had a phase of emotional eating and getting this agitated space. Getting into this very irritable, agitated space. And when I spoke to Sindur about it, Sindur kind of um, asked me to think about and ponder about whether it could be my struggle, my struggle with my grief, my new routine, having to take up responsibility of running a house and being an adult was what was affecting Zoe as well, because she's attached to me and she's seeing me struggle and she is coping with it by eating. Uh, Last 3 months, I have taken a bit of a backseat on everything. I've taken things slowly. I have kind of taken breaks for myself. I have focused on, not being so overwhelmed by the work around me. And I have seen a huge change in Zoe. So it is so important for us to really look after ourselves, find ways to help ourselves, because I don't think we can show up for our dogs fully if we are not able to do that. But having said that, the dog I have now is 2 years old. I got her at 11 weeks from a woman the same age as I, but she was overwhelmed just like you were describing. Exactly. I asked that woman just one question: how would you feel if you were to leave your dog with me? How would you feel when you get home? I would love to know what did she say. Um, so I think if it's the right thing, if they feel um, I can understand. I probably kind of anticipate what's the response you're going to share, but I think what this person felt like, and I know that they would have felt like they were feeling like the dog was actually a burden and not a source of joy that they were hoping it would be. Um, she said, "Really, I was completely anticipating that response." And I think if that is the kind of relationship they're starting off with, then it's unfortunate for the dog to continue to be there, and it's unfortunate for the human to continue to be there, unless the human commits to be able to work on themselves, or they have the uh, ability to do it. I had the privilege of having my family around me, with me. I had the privilege of a support system. I had the financial privilege of reaching out to the right kind of support and help professionals, and I had also the financial, and I think all the other privilege that comes with living in a city and understanding mental health and reaching out and seeking the right kind of mental health professionals for myself as well. So I think I know when I say this that my ability to access all this support and all this help was from a space of uh, all the privilege that I had. But I think if I couldn't, I don't think I could have helped my dogs as much as I did. I don't think I could have helped myself and then be in a position to be the right caregiver for them. And the reason this is important is that I, okay, again, a tough question to ask. Would you rather have this dog stay with that person and both of them live with both their needs being unmet for as long as the dog is with them? Or would you rather have both of them have been homes that are, where their needs are being met? I think that's an important question to ask ourselves as well, because I know a lot of people who continue to keep the dogs and live a life of resentment, or this life of acceptance that this is how my dog is, this is how my situation is, this is where I am, and I can't do anything about it. This life of helplessness. And I feel like it is a very sad space um, to be for both the dog and the human. And it leaves both of them in a space of dysregulation all the time, and that's such an unfortunate space to be in. um, and so it's such a difficult conversation, and it's a controversial one. I know. I can already feel regret of having this conversation out in the open, publicly, because I feel like it can be taken in such wrong ways, which is why I'm trying to kind of reiterate and put disclaimers and all of that. But I think it's a controversial one, and I don't think there's an easy yes or no answer or right or wrong answer for this. I believe transparency, sharing your own experience is fair, and you after that offer your support to start that way, step by step. Then they have the chance to change things if they're able. Exactly. I feel like if someone comes in and I'm supporting them or helping them, uh, they should know what they're getting into. They should know that uh, while what we do is not a lot of uh, you know structured training, but there's a lot of parenting that goes in, there's a lot of caregiving, and caregiving is a task. It takes away emotional bandwidth, it takes away mental bandwidth, it takes away physical bandwidth. It is work. uh, some of us enjoy it, some of us, on bad days are stressed and do the bare minimum, but it does take away effort, it does take away parts of us, and if we are not in a space to give that, or we are not able to care for ourselves, let alone another individual, then it's important to set that expectation upfront, and that's what I did. I don't know if it was the right thing. Maybe it all worked out in the end because the dog went to another home that where he's loved and cared for, and maybe the human is now in a better space as well to care for themselves. So maybe it worked out in the end. But if you look at it from the fact that was it a successful adoption, I don't know. The thing is, I get to work with many clients who are overwhelmed by raising or caring for a dog. Many of them would leave their dog with me if I were to take him. I said no many times in the past. And I think that's so difficult, right? Like to work in those kind of situations with those kind of in those cases where you want to support but also you don't know if supporting is the right way, and you can't take in all the dogs that come through your door either. That will leave you stretched as well. So I wonder, I mean, I think I wish we had more places where there was a lot more information of what it entails to be a dog parent and what kind of responsibilities it entails. At least people will make an informed decision instead of a hasty one, I think. Um, if today, so I did mention that I'm moving homes. uh, I have been thinking so much of whether or not to take Laddu, Lady, and Bala with us or not. I have spoken about it at length in one of the lives before, I think one or two lives prior to this. And I had to think so much about it. Is that something that the dog needs? Is that something that I am up for? Is that, sorry, Laddu is here and he came home just now from outside. So, yeah. Um, I had to really think through this, um, whether that is something that he needs, that they want or not, whether I am up for it or not. What would it entail for me if I would take up the responsibility of more than what I have right now, which is Zoe? And am I up for it? Do I have the bandwidth for it? How would my life change, better or worse? How would my life change? Am I open to that kind of change currently? And when I was having a conversation with my husband yesterday, I told him that till today, I don't see Laddu, Lady, and Bala as my dogs, right? Which means that everything that they do or happens to them is my responsibility, and I need to be aware and care for them in that sense. They go out of the house in the night and they're out of the house for 12 hours. We go to my parents' place very frequently. So, there's nobody to take care of them when we are not here. And when that happens, if I were to look at them as my dogs, uh I would be hyper about leaving them and going. I would be hyper about what is happening outside, or I would want to have them in my house. But today I see them as as street dogs who come home, take shelter here. They love being here. They love spending time with us. They eat here and they go out when they want to, and they have a life outside of this space. And remembering that and reminding myself of that gives me a space of um thinking of, okay, fine, what is my option here? And I realized that I don't think I'm up for it yet. um, Now, when after Sammy passed away, even then we have had Zoe for 7 years. Our life changed so much after Sammy passed away, of course, in terms of grief and loss and all of that, but even logistically, we can't leave Zoe home anymore alone, because for us, we would leave her alone and she would be with Sammy and she was comfortable. After he passed away, she was not, which meant that our life changed drastically, where we couldn't step out together. Me and my husband couldn't step out together. And every time we need to, we have to find our support system. So every time there is a change in environment, in the family dynamics, in the family system, uh, there is a new adjustment that we have to make, and that goes for our dogs too. Bringing home a dog is a big change in our family, so we have to probably prepare for the fact that there is going to be change in our lives. So yeah, I think that was one conversation that I did want to have. If you have any further thoughts about it, any other parting thoughts on this, do share it with me, and I will keep reading your comments as well. um, shall we move on to the conversation on agency? I have quite a few videos to share with you all as well. So I think we're going to have some fun time watching videos. Um, shall we move on? I don't know if I have uploaded all the videos that I needed. Let me just, there's one more, I guess, two more. I don't know why it automatically goes on to the stage. I think there has to be a setting here somewhere. Okay. So before we go on to conversations of agency, what are your thoughts on what is agency? And what does it mean for our dogs to have agency? Any thoughts on that? Sorry, I'm just trying to bring up the definition on Google while I get any responses from your end. What is agency, and what do you think? Do you think our dogs should have agency? Do you think our dogs have agency? And when I say our dogs, at the moment, I'm talking about companion animals. I will come to, through the videos, I'll come to free living dogs as well. But yeah, your thoughts, and then I'll bring up what Google says about agency. This is in respect, with respect to our previous conversation. I think that trying to start teaching kids at school about dogs and better ways to interact with them may create a large group of dog parents with knowledge. Absolutely. I think um, this is something that I talk about. Of course, I do it with on the conversations around safety around dogs. But I have seen that when I have conversations even around safety or around dogs and how to be safe around dogs, I've seen that kids are so good at receiving this kind of information. They're so good at implementing it almost immediately. It was interesting because I did a workshop in an apartment with for kids on safety around dogs, and this was after a child had been chased by another dog, and she was extremely fearful of dogs. And we spoke about, all of this, how to be safe around dogs, what are our body language, what should our body language look like, what are we reading in our dogs, and things like that. And within couple of days I got a feedback from the child, through the apartment association, that she was able to interact with another dog with lesser fear. um, and that was so beautiful for me because I felt like they are truly the ambassadors of whatever knowledge we can put out there about dogs, how to interact with dogs, how to be with dogs, what does it mean to care for dogs, what's respect, what's empathy. They're, I feel like they're so pure in their interactions and their intentions and the way they love and care for another individual, be it human or other animals, that they are amazing. And I think if we start early, um, it might help a lot. Absolutely, I agree with you there. Okay, so what does Google say about agency? Agency is a sense of control that you feel in your life, your capacity to influence your own thoughts and behavior, and have faith in your ability to handle a wide range of tasks and situations. Um, Cambridge says agency is the ability to take action or to choose what action to take. So that is what Google says agency means. Now, if that is the definition, do our companion animals have agency? Do they have the ability to make choices or know that they have multiple choices and they have the decision making power in different situations? They have the ability to take those decisions, and um, when put in difficult situations, they are able to make the right choice for them. Keeping these definitions or these key points from the definition, do you think our companion animals have agency? When they come home and when they're brought home, and they are made to live in a house designed by and for the humans, and live alongside humans under human expectations of what they should and shouldn't do, does that mean they have agency as companion animals? Okay, so while you share your thoughts about it, I have my first video. Okay, and with every video I'm going to give you some context. 99% no. So they may not have, in most situations they may not have agency. Yeah, I think so too. um Interestingly, whenever Zoe is at our house gate, and you will see that gate come up in a couple of videos here as well, uh she would love to run away from the gate, just as she sees her friends, the street dogs, uh run around, go out when they want to, come in when they want to. And I've seen her want to go out. uh we let her out in situations where we know it's safe and we know it's fine, but we don't let her out all the time. She clearly doesn't have agency. As much as I would like to give that to her, she doesn't have that agency. So even in my situation where I do talk about, and I'm very very aware that agency is important for welfare and well-being, we are unable to give our dogs complete agency in all situations. Because I don't think our dogs have all the skills that they need in all different situations. So, knowing that, let's pick up our first video. The first video is of Chocolate. Chocolate is a street dog. I knew her very well. She was our street dog where I used to stay prior to where I'm staying today, when I was staying with my parents prior to marriage. And I have taken care of Chocolate for a long time. And even today, when I kind of drop in that area, she's always there, and we tend to have an interaction. So, Chocolate is a street dog that I knew, and the video that you're going to see is of me and Chocolate having a quick interaction. That's Chocolate, and I pet her. And then I stop just to see if she wants me to pet or not. She very specifically asks for it for me to continue. How could I? How could I stop? So she asks for me to continue, and then she walks away when she's done. Should we see it again? Do you think that Chocolate had agency in this situation? And what did agency mean here? Uh, we think about agency when we talk about maybe difficult situations, difficult interactions, freedom to walk away in difficult, in conflict situations. But um, what does agency mean in this interaction? I'm going to pull up the video once again. Chocolate and me, I'm petting her. I'll stop petting. She asks for it very specifically, and she ensures that I'm doing it. I'm meeting her need. Um, ask for it for a while and walk away. I find this such a beautiful one. I love this video. To me, here, agency was clearly one. Um, yes, I think Chocolate had agency in that situation. She got to choose when to pet and when to walk away. Absolutely. Absolutely. And she could tell me that she wanted to be pet. So firstly, be able to tell what she wants, express her needs was one. So ability to communicate her needs is in the first place. How many of our dogs can even have the space to be able to communicate what they need? Forget that they can ask for what they need and get that need met. Or if we go one step further, how many of our dogs are able to tell what they need? How many of our dogs are so in tune with themselves, with their body, with their surroundings, and so regulated to be able to say, okay, this is what I need right now, and this is how I ask for what I need, knowing that when I communicate that this is what I need, the other individual listens to what I say, and my need gets met in some form or the other. Um, and once I'm done, I can walk away. And when I choose to walk away, when I choose to say no, or I'm done, or I need space, that will get respected as well. I found this very interesting because how many of our companion dogs end up getting petted endlessly, and how much do they get to say no? I think I want to get access to that paper as well, but I did very briefly glance at a paper that was talking about what is happening right before a dog bit someone, and one of them had high instances of petting. Could it be that our dogs are resorting to bites or reactivity or aggression during petting because they don't have the agency to walk away and say no? How much of a role does agency play in this then? Something to think about, I guess. I will pull up another video next. This is my interaction with another street dog. That's a street dog I didn't know. I was seeing for the first time. I have only seen that dog that one time in that one video you see. It was way back in 2019 as a part of one of my assignments for my diploma. And I made a whole host of mistakes, which also meant I learned a lot of things from this video. So I hope you will see me with that lens of being an absolute amateur in this video. I don't do this anymore. And the reason is because I managed to do this here and I learned quite a bit here. I will pull this up, but I have a very interesting question for this video. Let's mute it because a lot of traffic at the end, at the other end of the video. So that's a dog. No idea who that dog is. Never met him or her after that. The assignment was to go ahead and then greet a dog, any dog. So I'm going ahead doing my assignment, wanting to greet this dog here, and I close in. How many of you can see all the signs that the dog is giving me, saying that they're not interested? This video, no matter how many times I've watched it, no matter how many times I've shown it to people, gives me anxiety as I watch it. Yep. How many of you were anxious while watching this that I'll get bitten? When I watched it afterwards, when I was analyzing the video, of course, when it happened real time, I don't think I realized what was happening. But when I watched the video later, I was like, oh my god, the dog couldn't have been clearer. The dog couldn't have been more clear about the fact that they don't want me to approach them. They don't want me to close in on them and reduce the distance with them. But also, quick question then, if this was a companion dog, or if this was a dog who didn't have the freedom or the choice to walk away in that situation, would it have played out exactly the way it did in this? Would I have gotten bitten by the time I closed in on the dog? Do you think I escaped this situation because the dog had agency to walk away? And we saw the end of the video, right? The moment the dog got that one window of escape, they walked away. They ran, bolted, I would say. But that's an interesting one for me. And I show this video everywhere where I talk about all the mistakes you shouldn't do. Learn from. Like, I made the mistake, so you don't have to, I guess. But I was very lucky because I think agency in this case for this dog played a big role in me not getting bitten at the end of it. Um, what are your thoughts about it? So both the videos I showed right now was the role of agency in human dog interaction. And if you saw, I intentionally picked interaction with free living dogs because I want to kind of highlight the fact that when the dogs have agency and they are well regulated, they are well connected with themselves, their surroundings. They are able to think before they react, before they act. Uh, how beautifully these interactions tend to go when that happens. Um, One situation where it was a friendly interaction, and one situation where it was a tense interaction. Both places, I think agency played a huge role. Now we will go for dog to dog interaction. Shall we? And as you have any thoughts, as you would you want to watch the last video again, the video of me completely ignoring the communication by the street dog? Let me know if you want me to play it again. I can do that. If not, we will move on to the next one, which is let's see dog to dog interactions. Um, what role does agency play in dog to dog interactions? And I have two videos for this. First video is of two street dogs. If any of you have read my blog or seen me share the story on my Instagram or Facebook, you would know about this. But it is about two dogs. Uh, Again, these are two street dogs I knew very well, Blackie and Rocky. They were dogs that I have taken care of. Both of them, I loved spending time with both of them, and they both loved spending time with me. Often, when I would just pass by by the street, and I'd spot them, I'd get down from my car and then just sit next to them and spend time with them. This was one such occasion where I spotted them, and I felt like I want to sit by them, next to them, and spend time with them. You will see me first sitting with Blackie, and then you would see Rocky at a little later stage in the video. Um, Blackie and Rocky hate each other. They do not appreciate each other's presence. They don't like each other. They don't want to have anything to do with each other. So now let's see how would an interaction happen between two dogs who hate each other. I will try and reduce the audio, but there is a point in the audio where there is a very low growl by Rocky, I think, to express that he doesn't like that Blackie is there. This is Blackie. I'll try and then kind of forward the video a little bit. So I'm sitting next to him. He's just chilling. I'm with him. That's Rocky. He wants to come to me, but he sees that Blackie is with me, and he kind of gives a signal to Blackie that he wants to come close. Blackie walks away. And then Rocky is just all over. Yeah. This was during COVID. So, yeah, masks and all. These two dogs do not like each other. They have, uh, it's like if they violate their boundaries, then it will turn into an escalated conflict. But I feel like agency played a huge role in this interaction, because both dogs knew that they didn't need to have an interaction, and they both knew that they can walk away. They have the choice to walk away if they wanted to, and nobody is compelled to be in each other's presence. And even then, they both spend time on the same street. They just maintain respectable distance so that they both are not in each other's space. And I think agency has a huge role to play in this kind of an interaction where uh, dogs who don't like each other, dogs who don't want to be in each other's presence, they don't escalate as much as we see in our companion dogs. And I think a big role in that is that of agency. The choice to walk away, the choice to decide not to have that interaction, not to be in that interaction, freedom to even choose whether to have an interaction or not. Um, and I think agency plays a huge role in it. What are your thoughts? Constantly getting, yeah. Okay. Um, I love this. How can we give agency when introducing a new dog into the home? Um, Very interesting. Are you asking about getting a dog into a house and there's already another dog, or just getting home a dog and you want to figure out how to offer them as much agency as possible? Because I think uh, in home conditions again, and I think so much factors in. I'll come to your question. I think choice made the difference. Absolutely. Firstly, knowledge that they have a choice, and then that they have multiple options on how to deal with it, and the fact that they were in a place to be able to again think and make a decision. There was a gap between the situation and the reaction. uh, that makes such a huge difference. Okay, yes, if there's already another dog. uh, So I've had two clients recently where both of them ended up having a second dog, and they wanted to know how best to ensure the introduction. And one of the cases was where the dog they already had did not like having interactions with another dog, and in that case we decided to have spaces in the house that where it was cordoned off either through a baby gate or exclusively for one dog if they need to access safe spaces or walk away. And if you're able to read your dog well, if you're clued into your dog well, then a good idea is to build the ability for your dog to know that they have safe spaces to access. They can walk away if they want to. They can um, if you feel like the interactions are escalating, then you can decide to call your dog into a different space while separating them. So I think agency when there's already a one dog and another dog comes in, um, is a lot to do with supervision, being able to read the dogs, being able to see at what point the dogs are getting uncomfortable or comfortable. And I think because you have already built a communication and relationship with one dog, it would be great to kind of use that to help them walk away from situations if they want to. This is only possible if the dog already has had the knowledge that they can choose to walk away. They have the the space to be able to make rational decisions. So I think when you introduce a new dog into a household, few things to remember is how much you can give them spaces to decompress and regulate themselves. That's important. How to meet the needs of each dog. Another thing, because again, as I said, the moment you bring any change in your family dynamics, and things are going to go change for everybody in the family, and that includes your existing dog. So how can you ensure that they are well regulated? Because well regulated, as you saw in these videos, means that they have time to think before they act. So how to get them to be well regulated, how to give them choices. Do they want to be away from this dog? Do they want to be in the presence of this dog? Do they want to have a very minimal interaction, maybe in outdoors in more spacious environments, instead of in closed spaces in home environment? uh, all of these questions, I think, important to the only way you can give agency to any dog is to keep offering them as many choices as possible in the limits of safety and uh, ensuring everybody is safe. I think in those boundaries, that you're able to do within your limitations and your boundaries, as many choices as possible. And I think that should start your work with providing agency for the dog. I think it's hard to answer this question without knowing both dogs, but I think choices, keep offering a lot of choices, keep reading the dogs and their feedback, and communicate with them that they do have a choice. With like currently, that I have my companion dog who is Zoe, and we have two dogs who keep coming in and out. And there's usually conflict, and I've spoken about this conflict in my previous life, where lady is quite on edge whenever the Zoe or Laddu are moving around. And so we have to keep communicating with lady that she's safe, she doesn't have to worry and then growl at anybody, but also to the other two dogs that they are safe and they can walk in a different direction, they don't need to take this direction, and I'll walk along them if they want me to be there for them. So I think offering them different choices kind of helps them feel like they're not cornered, they're not stressed out, they're not in a conflict situation. um, but this is quite specific to our situation here. um, I hope that kind of helps in some way. I mean, I know it's not a very straightforward answer, but at least it gives you some way to go forward. The second video that I had to show you was the video of Lady and Zoe interacting very early in I think it was in September. I think there's a timestamp also in the video. Um, when Lady was just starting to come uh, outside our street, and she was evaluating whether she likes us, she was evaluating if she likes Zoe and she wants to come inside our house. This was around that period. And you will see them have an interaction. The one outside, I don't know if you can see, the one outside is Lady, and this is Zoe. This is our house front porch. The gate is open. No dog is compelled to have this interaction if they don't want to. They can walk away if they want to. Zoe is not on leash. Lady is free to walk away if she wants to. Free living dog. Um, I think there's a moment when I kind of open the gate even further to give them more space if they want to greet each other. Yeah, there. There was a small glitch in the video recording where they didn't capture one small bit in the video. I'll tell you where it is. You can see that lady is kind of evaluating Zoe through the gate, um, and she chose to do that. Somewhere here there'll be a glitch because I think lady would want to um, when it comes at yeah. Did you see that? She walked away. She wanted to walk away, but it somehow did not get captured in our video. So I'm not very sure what happened there. Um, so lady walked away. She didn't want to continue with that interaction. She evaluated. She saw. She figured whether she likes this dog. She wants to meet this dog or not. She walked away, and Zoe walked away as well after this. Again, if you saw after lady walked away, if Zoe wanted to, she had the choice to go further, but I think she realized that lady was not interested and maybe Zoe also was not interested, and so they both decided to respect each other's space and boundaries. um Again, I wonder how this interaction would have gone if it was two dogs on leash with no freedom to walk away from the interaction. um And if you see that, I think all the videos that I have picked has some element of free living dogs here. And I think the reason for it is because they kind of teach me what true agency can look like. Of course, their lives are kind of influenced by the humans they interact with, the kind of humans they live around, whether they have caregivers or they don't have caregivers, if they have friendly humans around them or there's conflict with humans around them. Of course, the way they react, they interact changes based on all of this, but they really do have agency to be in that situation or walk away, appeal or appease the humans or not, or find other people or say no and express their boundaries. They're not trained to give certain behavioral responses. if they do give certain responses, it's very internally learned, like, yeah, it's a more internal learning, intrinsic learning, than being trained to give a particular behavioral response. So we see a lot more instances of agency, and how agency can look, how regulated individual can look, how much, being able to think and then react matters in these kind of situations, and how can we model it for our companion dogs. As I said, even if we want to, we can't give our dogs agency in everything. Tomorrow, as a companion dog, if my dog wants to run away, would I want that? I mean, she would want to run away not because of our relationship, but probably because of her inquisitiveness, her curiosity. But does she have the skills to survive outside with her friends? I don't think so. Can I give her agency to be able to make that choice? I don't think so. But can I give her choices in many other spaces, in many other situations? That I definitely can. So I think, how much of agency can we give our dogs to meet their needs, to listen to themselves, to be able to trust themselves? How much can we trust them in different situations? I think all of that matters, and all of that can be done for our companion dogs as well. And I think it does wonders when we can start in easy situations. um, do you want chicken for dinner, or do you want fish for dinner? Easy. Offer the both options, and your dog can choose if they want. They might choose both. Then then they love it. They love both. Do you want me to saute your vegetables, or do you want me to pressure cook them? Do you want olive oil in your food, or you want ghee? We put a lot of ghee also in food. Do you want to walk left, or you want to walk right? um, we can give them options. Do you want to sleep here, or do you want to sleep on the floor, or do you want to sleep next to me? These are all different choices we can offer to our dogs, and then they do start feeling like they have some amount of agency, if not fully, but at least some amount of agency when they are um, going through life and different situations and experiences. Okay, one more, and then we will go to the Sammy video, which will then put us into the next part of it. We are already 1 hour 20 minutes into this live. Thank you all for sticking around for as long as we are here. I appreciate that you have taken time out and here to listen to what I have to share. Truly, truly appreciate. Okay, context again. These are again two street dogs. The brown one is Munna, the black and white one is Circuit. They both, and it's raining outside. I know you can't see it clearly, but it is raining outside. And they both are in our premises and trying to settle down inside when it's raining. There is a role of agency here, but I will come to it after you see the video. That circuit had never ever entered our premises up until this day, which is actually why I picked out my phone to capture this. And he's attempting, he or she, he's attempting to rest and figuring out whether he can rest or not, and settles down. Simple video, nothing different, nothing difficult for us to see here. But the important point here was, they both wouldn't enter our home if we wouldn't leave the gate open. I had to ensure. So they entered the house, and I was like, okay, it's raining. Maybe I should close the gate and they can settle inside in the night. And I went to close the gate, and they both were ready to get up and go out. And I again opened the gate and left the gate open. And then they came back and settled inside. What it got me thinking was that the two dogs there would rather sleep in the rain, heavy rains, instead of shelter, because shelter meant that their agency would be taken away from them, their freedom would be taken away from them. They would rather choose to sleep in discomfort than sleep where their agency is lost. So, does that mean that agency is more important than what we feel like our basic needs for survival, like food, shelter, medical care? Is agency even more important than all of that? Which then begs the question, if we see so much of our dogs feeling dysregulated, how much of it has to do with agency or loss of agency? This video was kind of taking me to think about all of that. How important is agency, and how basic a need is agency? Is it a need after your food, shelter, and medical care? Or is it even before that? Or is it along with all of that as well? Something for us to think about, I guess. Um, that brings me to the final video. Context yet again. Um, in this video, you'll see Sammy walking on leash. So there's a leashed dog and interacting with a free living dog. So freedom to walk away. Sammy was a dog who would pull on leash extensively. I think we have struggled with walking him on leash for a long time. I vaguely remember either my mom or me falling face flat while walking him, because he would pull so much. I know that there have been times when he's pulled so hard that we have the leash has escaped from our hand. There have been times when he has escaped out of his harness or collar. Uh, yes, we've had all those instances. I'll come to the leash pulling part of it in a bit, but he had the specific trigger where he would spot another dog, um, and he would pull us towards the dog. He would then bark all the way up to the dog, and then he would try to mount the dog, and the dogs would not like it, and they would have this hyper interaction. And yep, that was how um, our walks would go once upon a time. But you will see another way of interacting in this video, and that's quite interesting. And then we will talk about why I picked this video for agency, because I don't think it's that obvious. What role does agency play here? Because in first glance, if I don't know what I know about Sammy and the walk and what work we put in for him, this doesn't look like agency. I mean, I don't see much of agency play a role here. uh, but I want to know your thoughts, because you're watching this video for the first time. You're hearing probably Sammy's story. Maybe you've not heard it in detail. So what role do you think agency plays here? I want to give like a couple of minutes. If you have anything to share. If not, okay. So this is my thoughts then. Um, when we started work with, and this will probably veer into our conversations on working with Sammy, who was a leash pulling dog as well. So it'll have like conversations around that as well. But uh, it seemed that Sammy had the choice to walk away from the other dog. Right. Absolutely. But interestingly, it seemed it is something that he learned over a period of time. It was not something, if you see the video, and I think this is exactly, you hit it correctly in terms of what I wanted to share, is that when you see it, yes, he had the choice to walk away from the dog, uh, but it was not something that he knew before. It was something that he learned over a period of time. Um it was something that he, in the beginning, when those interactions with other dogs would happen, it was always with pet dogs, so they were also on leash. We were not as aware about, choice and freedom and agency and stuff like that before. So we felt like, oh, this is just hyperactive friendly behavior by a dog to another dog. And so we didn't feel like we had to tell him or teach him or show him that he has other choices as well. uh, Even in choice to walk away, before that he was having an interaction. If you see the video more carefully, you will see that there was a moment of thought. There was a moment where he looked like he might mount. He looked like he's probably going to mount that other dog. And there was a step back, and there was a thought process where he was like, oh, I don't need to do this. I could i could interact and be in the presence of another dog without mounting. And then it seemed like he felt like, okay, fine, I will walk away. Even in interaction, in the way to interact with the dog, uh, it seemed like he was learning that he has a choice to interact in different ways. And I think this is what um, offering choices to our dogs does over a period of time, that they learn that they have different options, they have different choices, that they can take a step back, take a minute, and then decide what they want to do. And oftentimes when they know they have other choices, they would pick the least conflict um, way to go about the situation, and the one that makes them feel most comfortable. um, and that's the power of agency, I feel, when we offer our dogs the ability to make the choice, the ability to uh, or space for them to learn that they have different choices, that they learn that they have various options to choose from. Pulling on leash and running towards dog, barking at the dog, and then mounting the dog need not be the only way of interaction, or need not be the only way to cope with that situation. So I think agency, or many many months slash years of working on offering him different choices, letting him know that he has different choices, that he has the decision making power here. He can decide to walk away if he wants to. I am ready to walk away. You don't need to have that interaction if you don't want to. I will not put you in a situation that you don't want to be in. um, and then of course having interactions with free living dogs who kept wanting to have interactions with him, and also teaching him that, this is not a very polite way of interacting. Maybe you could just walk with us, we will walk together and sniff. There is a video of him doing that as well with another dog, where he attempts to mount and the dog is like, this is not the right way, this is not polite, I don't like what you're doing, but I'll still hang out with you, because I like you, I want to hang out with you, but don't mount, I don't like that. There's video of that as well. So Sammy learned along the way, but to be able to learn, he also needs to be well regulated. He needs to be in at a place where he can take a step back and be like, okay, what are the choices I have right now? Do I have a choice to walk away? Do I have a choice to interact with this dog in a different manner? Can we both take a walk and maybe sniff around and explore the place instead of maybe mounting at this dog? um or do I back at this dog and ask this dog to just back off a little bit because I don't like this dog? What are my choices? And then he chose not to mount. And then he chose to walk away because he didn't want to have that interaction. Maybe that puppy energy was a little too much for him. And to be able to think through and make these choices and decisions, you also need to be well regulated. So that brings me to the point of the fact that being regulated, being able to think through, listen to your body, and communicate uh, in a healthy manner uh, is a precursor to our dogs making healthy choices for themselves. I uh, Agency is great, but what if you give your dog the choice? As I said, you give your dog the choice to um, walk left or right, and then your dog is so overwhelmed that they go in all kinds of spaces, and then they go and then have go in the face of another dog and then jump at humans. If they are dysregulated, they are probably not making the choices that is best for them in that moment because of a dysregulated nervous system. And then you have to work on that before we talk about trusting them with their um, choices. And I think that is where most people struggle, because they are not able to trust their dog to make the right decisions for themselves. And the issue is not giving them choices. The issue is that they're probably dysregulated and are unable to think rationally, think through what they need and how to communicate it in the best way possible with other individuals around them. So I think um, that was Sammy's story that I wanted to share in terms of how we got here. But there was another thing that I wanted to share, because I feel like a lot of us have conversations around harness and collars. But a lot of us, I mean, we were told to put Sammy on choke collar, because dog pulling, use choke collar, you won't pull anymore. Um, didn't work. Glad it didn't work, because we didn't continue with it. Collars didn't help. He escaped out of collars. We were then moved to harness, wrong kind of harness, escaped out of harness as well. Moved to right kind of harness, escaped out of right kind of harness as well. But the point that I wanted to bring up is that when we talk about collar versus harness or the right kind of harness, it's not a conversation on an equipment to stop your dog from pulling. Yes, collars, uncomfortable collars, choke collars, prong collars, shock collars, uh, will all probably make your dog to stop pulling because it's uncomfortable, because it causes them pain, discomfort, fear, because they're aversive. That is how it works. Anybody who says that's not how it works is lying to us, right? Um, the reason your dog probably stops pulling on any of these equipment is because it's causing them discomfort. There should be no other reason why the dog suddenly stops or magically stops pulling on any of them. But Sammy didn't, so it didn't work for us, and that was great for us. So we moved from one equipment to another equipment. It's important for us to separate this idea that safety equipment is about your dog having the skills to navigate outdoor environment. When you take your dog out for a walk, your dog is navigating outdoor spaces. Outdoor spaces can be overwhelming sometimes, overstimulating. They could be too much for your dog. Your dog may not have the right skills. Your dog may not have the right kind of uh, gait to be able to slow down. I've had clients whose dogs don't slow down no matter what equipment you put them on, and that's because they have hip instability. Um, there are people who have dogs on right kind of harness but are unable to walk their dog or make their dog slow down, and that's not because of the equipment. It's because of the environment and the dog's state of being. And it's so important to separate the two. Walking equipment is for safety. It's to ensure. It's like shoes for us. We wear shoes so that when we venture outdoors, our feet is safe, it's comfortable to walk. That's all it is. Whether you have pain when you're walking, whether you're walking fast, you're walking slow, you're unable to walk, your walk was great when you went outside or it was not great, has nothing to do with how good or bad your shoes is. Your shoes is just a safety equipment and it's meant to make you comfortable, and that's it. How you walk, are you able to walk with the right kind of gait, whether your walk went well, is probably a lot to do with your physical and mental state of being, and also your environment where you're walking. And that kind of holds true for our dogs as well. And it's an important conversation to have, a more detailed conversation to have. But I feel like all of us stop at the point of collars are not great, harnesses are important, but what kind of harness, what is good harness, bad harness? But at the end of it, all of this is just your safety and comfort equipment. They are not equipment to give your dogs the skills to navigate outdoor environment. And to navigate outdoor environment, your dog should have the skills to process their environment, interact with the environment in ways that um, are healthy for themselves and those around them, communicate with the humans on what they want and don't want, what are their boundaries like. Um, Sensory overload is an important thing to consider when you're outdoors, because the moment you are outside your house, then the sensory stimulation from outdoors is very different from what it is indoors. So sometimes it might be overwhelming, overstimulating for your dog. Important to consider that as well. So outdoors, navigating outdoor skills is not the same as having the safety equipment. So if your dog is pulling on harness, uh, even if you're on the right kind of harness, it's not the walking equipment that's wrong. It's not your safety equipment that's wrong. It's probably that your dog does not have the skills to explore, navigate, and regulate themselves in the environment you're walking them in. Um, and that needs a little bit of investigation. Not the safety equipment, not their walking equipment. Of course, there are good and bad walking equipments. There are equipments that make your dog be able to walk better, explore better. There are equipment that make your dog uncomfortable, but that is why you need to have a good, the right kind of equipment, and that's where it stops. It's not going to give you your dog magical skills. It doesn't have magic powers to give you your dog skills to navigate outdoors. um, Longer conversation, I guess, at another point. But that's about it, I guess, for today. uh, Anything else? Any questions you have before? If not, then we can end the stream for today. If you enjoyed the stream today, if you enjoyed the conversation today, do like the stream, do like the video, share it with your friends, share it with people that you know who have dogs, share it with maybe your clients who might be looking for some kind of information as well. Whoever you think might enjoy something like this, do share it with them. The best way to be notified about my lives, because I'm going to slowly stop posting on my Instagram and Facebook, because it becomes very hard to be able to track what I've posted on Instagram, what I've posted on Facebook, and stuff like that. So if you want to be notified of my lives, the best way to do it is to subscribe to this channel. You will 100% get information when I go live if you do that. I will continue to post for some time, but it is getting a little overwhelming to be able to do it every week. So I might stop at some point, but I'll do it for some more time. So till then, subscribe to the channel, be notified about the channel activity, so you know when I come live. And I'd love to have you all come live more frequently, so that we can have interesting discussions like this. And if you have any topics, if you have any thoughts, if you have any questions, if you want some other topics that you want me to talk about, you can DM me anytime. I know that um, You can either find me on Facebook or Instagram. And thank you for all the great information. I too am moving the next 3 weeks. It is indeed an emotional time. I'll be thinking of you, and I wish you all the best. Absolutely. I think moving it takes a lot of energy, effort, and bandwidth from us. So I hope that you have a good support system when you move. I hope you have time before and after you move to decompress for yourself, for your dogs as well. And I'd love to have you back whenever you are ready again. I'd love to see you again during the lives. But yes, if no other questions, then we can end the live now. And I will see you next week. I hopefully will see you next week. Between next week or the week after that, one of the weeks, I'll definitely not be doing the live, at least not on Wednesday at the time that we're doing. But I'll keep you informed about it if at all I am going or not going live. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll get the notification anyway. And I hope you have a great week ahead. I hope you have some great time with your dogs. And I hope you get enough rest. I hope you get enough um, care for yourself. I think that was the theme of today's conversation anyway. So I hope, yes, you have more things to think about through this live, and I hope you have a good time, good week ahead. And I'll see you the next live. Thank you so much for making it here and then having a great discussion with me. I do appreciate it, and I am really grateful for it. Thank you so much. See you the next time. Bye.